there. My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today we are talking about give me some credit. And I'm definitely going to talk about the financial aspect of this because there are so many in the modern age that are rolling on credit, using credit, and weren't ever explained the functionality of it and how credit works. But from a shamanic perspective, we tend to look at the signs, symbols, and clues. We tend to look at the echoes. We tend to look at this probably means that it's on the same coin, And so one of the first things I received from Lightwalker when I started apprenticing on the shamanic path is he said, Heather, it's like you want to just hunker down real tight and spring up and bounce onto the top of the mountain. You want to journey from the base of the mountain to the top by just using all your force and power and intent and attention. And, we do have magical minds. We are capable of much in the paradigm, so much more than most of us will recognize, most ignore, right? But he said, the thing that I want to hand you as we begin is to recognize that it's important to take a few steps up the mountain, stop, look around, remember where you were when you were on the ground, right? Take a moment to see the new vantage point. Take a moment to give yourself credit for how far you've come. And then continue to take that road, continue to journey up the mountain of life, up the evolution of your essence and quintessence and recognition of all that you be as divinity. But, and then stop again. And then remember, wow, I've come even farther. And give yourself credit for how far you've come. So the first thing I want to do is touch the concept of credit. Do you give yourself credit? How often are you correcting? And some of us, this can be a gift where we're willing to self-reflect. We're willing to look at the self. I would recommend that for all two-leggeds if evolution is the aim. It's important to look at you instead of looking at everyone else, which you're not the steward of. You're the steward of your ship all day, every day. So one piece is to consider how much credit do you give yourself? How often do you acknowledge your growth, your evolution, the work you've put in, how far you've come, where you've been, right? So that's the consciousness component that can shake in the web and reverberate in the web of your life through manifestation components, because what we do in mind, we will see in the paradigm. And so this other piece that I want to talk about with credit, it's something of the elemental magics that I have to offer humanity. Fire, air, and water are strong in this one, right? And I have a lot of fire, air, and water magic to offer. Fire being creativity, inspiration, new ideas, looking at life from a new perspective, breaking down signs, symbols, and clues, vision, clairvoyance. Air elemental being the mind, the mental component, restructuring the subconscious mind that's running your program all day long. Working with your neural network, working with the quantum field, working with consciousness. And the final piece of magic I offer is water elemental. So working with the emotions, paying attention to your emotional quotient and how your feelings are really activating and moving things into your field of awareness. The piece of magic that I'm the least developed in and that I have a lot of work to do in and constantly focus in is earth magic. And earth magic not only includes the body, which I've over time become very disciplined with, it includes finances. And it includes, your home, the way you keep your home, your car. It has to do with the manifest physical world, and it has to do with self-worth and self-value. And I've struggled with that self-worth and self-value piece. I've struggled with acknowledging Heather Feather for all that she's done and all that she's become when you've been handed a lot of trash from a lot of two-leggeds over a long period because you had a high aim as a soul to evolve quickly. It can be easy as your attention becomes focused on the trash that a two-legged's able to offer to focus on your own trash that you hand humanity and to want to clean that up. And so there can be a need in order to be balanced, which is part of the shamanic path, the medicine person path, the way medicine entity walks, the way the light of truth and the light of love and unconditional love walks in the world, to also recognize all that you are being, all the gifts you do offer. When it comes to our financial credit and what it means to build credit and to develop credit, credit is not just about getting a credit card and paying on your credit card. There are many aspects that creditors look at for your finances to develop the credit for you to buy a house or to, sometimes we have aims that do require having good credit. And so I just wanted to touch this piece. If you have a credit card that has, let's say, a $5,000 limit, and you have another credit card that, let's say, has a $5,000 limit, the total of all of your credit cards, all of the credit that you have, can include auto loans, home loans, the variable of all the credit that you have, the balance that you owe should always be under 30%. So if you have a credit card that has a $5,000 balance and you owe $4,000, that is not helping your credit. Now, if you get another credit card that has a $5,000 balance, if you choose to get a second card with a $5,000 balance, that $5,000 and this $5,000 becomes $10,000. And now you have 40% on your credit because you have $4,000 charged on this card, and then you have a new card with a $10,000 access of credit limit. So one of the things I want to point to serve your credit today, I used to be a debt negotiator, right? There are secured debts and unsecured debts, and credit cards are unsecured debts, which means that if they go to a creditor or a collection agency, you can negotiate that debt down to 30 to 50% of what was originally owed. So if you've got anything that's gone into negotiation, you can negotiate. You just have to express your hardship, why it's been difficult for you to pay the bill, and you can talk that bill down to 30 to 50% of what was originally owed. And because it's unsecured, right? It's not secure. They've charged you a high APR. They're doing things as well. And that's known that a lot of the money that is owed is actually the APR they put on the card. However, there's this piece that a lot of people don't know. If you own a credit card today, did you know that you can call after you've had it for a while, 6 months plus, usually a year is a good time frame, and negotiate the APR. So if you have a credit card with a 29% or 24% APR, because at the point in which you finally got approved for a credit card, your credit wasn't doing so well, you can call a year later and say, can we lower this APR? Can y'all take a look at my terms and lower the APR? And when you ask that question, you can also say, can I increase my credit limit? I have a card that has a $5,000 credit limit, and I just called them yesterday and was like, can you up that to $7,500? And I did that because I had a car accident that caused me to put a lot of money on that card to get my car back. And so the balance raised. And so what I want to do is increase the credit limit so that that percentage lowers so that my credit score remains afloat, right? So these are free ways that you can work with your credit. How many credit cards do you have? Can you increase the balance? And here's a really important component of understanding credit in this world is that credit cards are not to give you things that you can't afford. Credit cards are not, the function of a credit card is not to get you that new TV, that new iPhone, those new kicks that you've been wanting so that you can look so slick Rick as you wander about in the world. And now you're chasing your own tail, trying to pay these APR, and now your money, which is your time investment, the way you invest your time in a job or in work that provides money, a lot of people don't want to be doing that. If you're going to be doing it, let that time and attention be used well, right? Let it give you what truly serves. And so when I was working in debt collection, I had a great teacher, Ray, and he was teaching me, like, if you have a credit card, the credit card should be used to pay for your gas or to pay for your groceries. You're going to be paying those bills anyhow. And then you pay the credit card off instead of using your debit card, use your credit card, get a good APR, get a good credit limit on it. But if you have a $10,000 credit limit, you're never going to put more than $3,000 on that card. So you're making sure that you're not going above that 30%. You want to have like $2,900 or less on the card ideally. And you would use it to pay for things you're already paying for in your cost of living in your budget. If you want to save money, if you want to have a nest egg, if you want to set money aside, choosing to purchase things that are outside of the confines of your actual budget of income will affect your capacity to have that nest egg, to have that savings. I would recommend all two-leggeds figure out how to get $10,000 in savings. And I come from very low income background. I come from a mother raising 3 children after her husband drowned and body was never found, right? So I come from low income. I come from apartment complexes. My mom would always move us to the best neighborhood she could, but we would be in an apartment complex in these wealthy neighborhoods to where we could get a good education. but I was not able to dress the same as the people I went to school with. I did not have access to the same supplies as the people that I went to school with. And, my mom was very aware that, like, okay, I'm going to have to put these clothes on layaway. She did things in which she was making payments to get what was needed. But, money wasn't really her forte because she just had to kind of figure out how to raise 3 kids by herself through a grieving process. And so it's something I've more had to teach myself. It's something my brother has become very adept at, and he's become kind of like a coach and a provider of knowledge. And so I just had a great conversation in which we were talking about this component of how can I give me some credit in this world? One of the ways you can do that is negotiating APRs. One of the ways that you can do that is negotiating your credit limit. If you negotiate your credit limit, it's really important that your consciousness knows this is not bonus money. I didn't just go from a $5,000 balance on this card to a $10,000 balance or $7,500 balance because now we can take a vacation. Now we can get that new big TV. I did it because I am trying to keep the balance under 30% and I'm trying to keep my credit score high. Another component of credit is how many lines of credit do you have open? It's actually not great to have 24 lines of credit. If you have a bajillion credit cards, that's actually not helping your credit score. 2 to 3 is a good amount. I have an auto loan. I have 2 credit cards. I have a Firestone credit card because I can only use it to fix my car. I'm not going to use that to go buy TVs or, it helps me to be in alignment with how I'm spending money. I can use that to fix things on my car. And I have a Visa credit card, which I consider myself as not having, right? A component of it is having enough lines of credit open. So ideally, you would have more than 1 line of credit open. You would have 2 to 3. This shows that you're able to make payments in multiple directions month by month and to be consistent with it. Another component is to not close your credit card once you pay it off. If you've had a credit card for 10 years and you're like, oh, finally paid that off, and then you cut that credit, then that doesn't actually reflect in your current history. So you want to have 2 to 3 lines of credit. You want to have them open. You want to, one of the things my brother does, he has a credit card he doesn't use at all, but he has kept it. He's had like 2 decades of history with this credit card. So when it gets to a zero balance, he goes and purchases an item that serves, Christmas or whatever to keep the card open, and then we'll slowly pay that off. So it's helpful to know that you need to have lines of credit open. That's one of the things that they're looking for. How many lines of credit do you have open? Having 54 credit cards, not a great idea. Most people don't, but some do have many, many, many credit cards. That doesn't necessarily help. It does also help to not narrow that scope of having just one card or, so you want to have a few lines of credit open. You want to show that you're making consistent payments. You want to keep the balance at below 30%. You want to make sure that card remains active with a 30% or less balance that you're constantly paying towards, which reflects your good credit history. You want to negotiate the cards for lower APR and higher credit limits. And then you want to be aware that credit cards are actually tools that we use to develop credit. They're tools that we use to develop the credit to be able to get an auto loan, to be able to get a home. That's the function of credit. It's to give you the freedom to make a purchase. Ultimately, this is outside. Most people can't go put $300,000 down on a home or let's say $15,000, $20,000 down on a car in a moment of now based on the system that's been created, So that's okay. You can get an auto loan, you can get a home loan, but the best way to do that is to have a good credit score, 700 plus, right? And so these are all things you can do to give yourself more credit. You can also, if something has gone into collections, you can contact them, express whatever hardship you've had that caused the debt to go into collections. I lost my job, it was COVID, whatever. I had to start homeschooling my kid. This is what was going on. My parent died, I had to take on their debts. And you can negotiate any credit card that's gone into collections down to 30 to 50% of what was originally owed. And you can tell them so that's another thing you can do. You can, if you have a debt that's gone into negotiations, the creditor has taken that over to a collections place to collect on the debt from you. you can save up 50% of what is owed on that credit card. And once you have that 50%, you can call them and say, I'm going to give you 30% and negotiate from 30% to 50, so that you can, if you negotiate the debt for 35% or 40% of what was owed, then you have a little nest egg from what you've saved. Are you giving yourself credit for all that you be this day? And are you develop credit in the way that it serves? You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there. I'm